Welcome to the next episode of the Impact Millions podcast. And for everyone who is used to listen to me in German, this is gonna be another English episode. So it's a really interesting one, and I'm really excited for that. And first of all, I got really good feedback about the last English one. So I'm gonna stay with that. Luckily, I have a lot of cool friends all over the planet who are doing something cool I can interview. And today I have someone really interesting. I've Mark Jenkins. He's a celebrity person trainer. He's an entrepreneur, book author, and as you see, in shape. So he's not just a person trainer who says he's a person trainer like many. Like he's really living the mission. So Mark, for everyone who doesn't know you yet, just a quick introduction, like 60 to 90 seconds, who you are, like where you're from, what you do for a living.
Yep.
Let's
Hey, thank you for having me on. Looking to impact some millions with you. So I appreciate you having me on. My name is Mark Jenkins. I'm a celebrity trainer, entrepreneur, and author hailing from Brooklyn, New York. I am 53 years old and love to promote health and wellness. My clients include people like Beyonce, Mary J. Blige, Diddy, D'Angelo, Busta Rhymes, Calvin Klein. Long list of celebrity clients. It's been a very, very good career and exciting journey.
that's amazing. I will get into that as well. So I did a little bit of research and I found a couple interesting things. So I will get into that. So what's interesting? So you're 53. So I think you're the oldest guest I had on so far.
Okay.
So and that's amazing. That's a compliment because you still have a better energy than most people like my age, 26. You're pushing. I see you working out every day. You like just do what you love to do and you live the mission. And we met in Las Vegas at an
It was
event.
ridiculous.
I remember that. And that was our first conversation. And then we stayed in touch. We talked a little bit. I saw you also have your own podcast. I will put the link into the bio on Instagram and Spotify, so you can check that out for everyone who is interested in hearing more about Mark. So for every entrepreneur, for everyone who does something different in their life, or for most of them, they have like some, like maybe it's like a collective of moments or one moment in their childhood, in their teen years. So if I would meet you in like with like 15 years old, 14 years old, what was and who was the 14, 15-year-old Mark Jenkins? Were you the good one in school or less? How was like your living situation and your background?
Coming from Brooklyn, New York in the early 80s, that was the crack era. So, me going to school was stepping over crack vials to get to school. You might see a dead body or a junkie passed out on the street at school. And for me, my dad died when I was 2. My mom took me to dancing school. She did not really know what to do with a male child. I went to dancing school with my sister. Um, and I learned tap, jazz, ballet, modern gymnastics for many, many years. But I found out that was very dangerous to learn in the hood. So I started getting teased and bullied very early on because ballet doesn't really fly in Brooklyn in the early 80s. And when the kids found out I got teased like crazy, I stopped dancing, peer pressure, and that put weight on me. So I found myself 15, 16 with a 45-inch waist, some big man boobs, and literally running home from school every day trying to keep my sneakers on, staying away from the bullies and the drug dealers, trying to stay safe. So that's where I was at 15. It's funny, I had a meeting with a big CEO today because we were trying to get some projects done. So I met this big media mogul that we were pitching some stuff, and he was asking me the same thing. What was the tipping point for you? And I said, the tipping point for me was really running home from school and getting tired of getting bullied. But I told him the real tipping point, the real tipping point. So I'll share it with you today. The real tipping point for me was that I finally broke my virginity. I forgot what age it was, like maybe it was 16 or 15, something like that. And I went to tell the guys, like, yeah, man, I finally got laid. My girl, she loves me and whatnot. And then, I was with a bunch of guys, and all the guys were like, man, I slept with her yesterday. I slept with her last week. I slept with her 2 days ago. And my mouth started quivering and shaking, and my eyes got watery. And that was the real tipping point for me. Like, I can't live like this. I knew the trajectory of my life, where it was going, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Not only am I running home every day, but I can only get the girl that was the school slut. So the combination of the two forced me into drastic change.
Wow. I love that story. It's a great start for the podcast.
I figured,
Definitely
why not just
people.
be honest?
That's so important, and I love to hear like your background, how you grew up in Brooklyn, and everything like that. So, and then you had your tipping point, where you start to change something. So then, how was your journey from there? How did you go to like being in shape, being a celebrity person trainer? Because I did a little bit of research, but I didn't found like a red line. How was like your story until
Transition.
that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not something I talked about a lot, but I find now it's motivational for people. So I really try to tell the story honestly. So at that point, maybe 16, 17, I was like, well, shit, I'm not going to make it, man. I'm either going to get killed in the hood, or I'm just not going to amount to anything. I tried to do sports, but I was dancing so long, I didn't have any skill level. So I had the basketball skills of someone who never picked up the ball before, while all the kids in high school were playing basketball. So I tried to do sports to get in shape. I never got picked. So my mother sent my sister to college, damn near bankrupted herself, sending my sister to Penn State, big university in the States. So there was no money for me to go to school. I decided I could join the military, get in shape, and get some money for college at the same time. But, I got a 45-inch waist and the man boobs. So I knew I couldn't get into the Army. I was too fat. I knew I couldn't get into the Marines. There's no way I could pass. So it's between the Air Force and the Navy. So I go to the recruiter, the Air Force and the Navy. I take the test, and they're like, wow, you score pretty high in the test. You got a good mental aptitude. And the Navy guy goes, you should join the Navy. He sees I'm fat because they have McDonald's on the aircraft carriers on all the ships. And I was like, word, son, they got McDonald's on all the ships? And I just signed up for the Navy right there. I was 17, so I had to get my mother to sign as well because I wasn't quite an adult yet. And she was like, Mark, you're making a mistake. And I was like, don't embarrass me in front of the officer, the petty officer. I'm going to join the Navy. Didn't listen at all. And I signed the Navy. And once they shaved my flat top, I knew it was a mistake immediately. I was like, man, this is not the place for me to be. And so I joined the Navy, which is if you guys don't know, the Navy is the easiest boot camp out of all of the branches. Maybe the Air Force is a little bit easier, but the Navy is not that hard. I was last on every run. I couldn't do 10 push-ups, but they kept advancing me because I never quit. When I got to the Navy, I failed a physical. They didn't want to let me in. They said, dude, you have flat feet. You're out of shape. So I just started crying. I don't know where to go. They're going to want me. And the guy felt sorry, and he let me in the Navy. That's how bad a shape I was, to give you any idea of what condition they were in. So just somebody felt sorry for me and gave me a break and let me into the United States military. And I barely made it through, but I made it through. I made it through the 8 weeks boot camp in Orlando, Florida. And I got to my school because I was teaching me how to work on F-18s, the jets, to
Oh.
go to the aircraft carrier, because then they send you to school for your specialty. And when I was there, I bumped into like a Navy SEAL dude who was jacked. I was like, damn, man, I want to look like you. And they were like, well, how come you want to train with me? What makes you think that? And I said, dude, I haven't seen my dick in the shower for like 5 years. I just want some help. I just want to be able to look down and see, not the belly, but my body in the shower. Can you help me? So just very honest, 17 years old. The guy gave me a break, and they trained me. I trained with some pretty buff jack dudes in the military. And, within a year and a half, I was 29-inch waist from 45 inches, 22-inch arms, 32-inch legs. But more importantly, I could look another guy in the eye, my self-esteem, because at the same time, you're in the military, you're getting trained on millions of dollars worth of equipment. you're in charge of people, you have responsibility. So that was my real awakening and coming of age right in the middle of the Persian Gulf. Because if you guys look at the timeline, I joined in 1988, and Desert Storm, Desert Shield started maybe a year after I joined. So I found myself
Oh,
in the
wow.
Persian Gulf at 18, 19. But for me, it was a great thing. I was used to hearing gunshots right next to me. I was on the aircraft carrier. I felt safe, because they weren't shooting directly at the ship. There was two gyms on the ship. I could work out as much as I wanted. They were open 24 hours, and I just really concentrated on getting my body right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really interesting story. And like how like just things play out, like just it really interesting, like for me to hear how young you started, like your journey, like at the military, and then just how you got like almost positively addicted to working out. So that's interesting. What's what was the reason why you decided to leave the military and go to be a personal trainer and coach other people, and especially to coach people who are like maybe in the top percent, like celebrities or successful entrepreneurs?
Got you. The reason I left the military was because this is the 80s, and it was extremely racist in the United States Navy at the time. Like when I told you I went to school to learn your skill, your trade, they give you there. When I went to, it was in Meridian, Mississippi. At the time, there was a sign on the base saying, if you're black and you leave the base, we can't protect you. There's Ku Klux Klan members in the Meridian, Mississippi, who will kill you if you leave the base. Once you leave the base, we're not responsible for you. Now, could you imagine you're defending your country, but you cannot leave the base and the country will not protect you? To give you an idea of what was going on at that time, racism wise. So I did not want to actively support a racist organization. I couldn't imagine, especially after being in a war, putting my life on the line for a country that's actively discriminating against me, that wouldn't even protect me getting my education to fight for the country. So that motivated me to become a lawyer. I said, you know what? The best way I can fight racism is to become a civil rights lawyer. So I had the money to go to college. I said, okay, I'm going to go be a lawyer and be a civil rights activist, fight the good fight. So I got out of the military. I got a job at the post office because the military time continues. So, and then I got the best membership at a gym I could get, which took all of my money, but it was a gym located on in New York, in Manhattan, on 50th Street between 8th and 9th. So surrounded by this gym, right? This gym is right here. There's Motown Records, there's Disney, there's ESPN, there's all these corporations, these huge corporations that all the people who went to these corporations went to this gym. So I was a member at this gym initially. Had no intention on becoming a personal trainer. I trained a lot of people in the military and helped them get in shape. Once I got in shape, I became the go-to guy in the Navy, but I thought it was useless information. My thing was to be a lawyer. But at the post office, they kept giving me extra mail because I was so much bigger than everybody else. I'm 250 pounds, 22-inch arms, huge, unloading mail trucks. So one day I happened to say to the gym manager, I said, man, this is size discrimination, man. Just because I'm bigger than everybody else, I'm breaking down more trucks, but I'm getting paid the same money. Right? This doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand what's happening. I should be getting more money. I'm breaking down more trucks. And he goes, Mark, well, you're so knowledgeable about training. Why don't you become a personal trainer? Had never thought about it. I had no. And so I said, I did enjoy getting people in shape. I did like it. I realized that there's somebody inside of everybody that when they feel good about themselves, they're able to access. And a lot of times in life, your self-esteem and how you feel about your physical self prevents you from taking that next step in life. And that's something that I related to. And I said, okay, this could be cool to go help people get in shape and give them the same type of transformation that happened to me. At the time, personal training was paying $13 an hour for a single session, and it was paying maybe $20 an hour for a private training. So I was getting $13 an hour to work the floor, $20 an hour to do a private training session with someone. No money. So I'm making even less money now than I was making at the post office. However, the gratification I got out of helping people was a totally different thing. And I was interacting with people and I felt good about what I was doing. I was helping people. I had one guy who broke both his arms, and at the same time, he fell in the snow. His arms locked up in the cast and helped him get his mobility for his arms. And that was one of the most rewarding experiences to this day that I had, because this guy couldn't even go to the bathroom by himself. You break both your arms at the same time, you can't do anything. So I was having these type of transformative experiences, not only for the client, but for myself at the same time. Like, wow, I really impacted people. So I got addicted to the helping people part. Although I wasn't making any money, I was very happy doing it. I had one lady, she was 300 pounds, maybe close to. I got a bunch of weight off of her, and she said, "Hey man, I have a client. I'm a publicist. Her name is Brandy. Would you like to train her?" And I was like, yeah, what's she doing? She's 12 years old. She's got a TV show, but she's getting a little heavy for the show, for the role that she's supposed to be playing. We want you to come in and train her. So I'm 250 pounds. My first celebrity client was Brandy. And she's all of 12 years old this time. And I'm like, "What are you eating?" She's like, "Oh, I'm eating Popeye's fried chicken." Don't eat that. Eat chicken and salad. Case is solved, She's not eating junk food. The metabolism speeds up. She loses the weight. She gets a TV show. She goes to California. So the money's gone because I was training her for $70 a session, which I thought was, man, I'm rich. If I get 10 clients at $70, I'm rich compared to the money I was making. But the idea got in my head. I was like, wow, I could actually make a living doing this. So I used what I learned in the military. Everybody who had nice shoes on or a nice purse or expensive suit, I figured that they were some type of executive, and I offered to train them for free because I knew no one would turn down free. I said, "Hey, I'll train you for free 3 times a week. I just want a lunch. It's a free lunch once a week." And in that lunch, I would ask them what they did, how they do it, and if they wanted to be a celebrity trainer, how would they go about it? And they would tell me, they were like, "Hey, if you want to get into a magazine, you have to train a publicist. If you need pictures, you got to train a photographer for free." So I started training so many people for free that I had to move into the projects. So now I'm back in the hood, making no money. I'm living in the Fort Greene projects, and I'm not from Fort Greene. I'm from Crown Heights, Brooklyn. So if you don't understand the relevance of that, if you move into a project in New York at that time and you're not from that place, it's even more dangerous because you're not from that section, if you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, I'm 250 pounds, empowered now. So it's a whole different thing. I'm like, okay, I can do it. I can survive. So I had no money. So I ate mackerel, brown rice, and frozen vegetables. That's how I figured I can get my nutrients, my carbs, and my protein for the next 8 years. This is 1992, 1993. Each meal and a protein shake, because that's all the money I had. And I trained people for free. I bounced, waited tables. I worked any job, and I just kept training people for free because I knew if I kept doing that, I would build a infrastructure, and then my tipping point will come again. I had the discipline from the military, and I had the confidence from the military, so it was a whole different thing. My mother thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy. I was like, "No, man, I'm going to get a break. I'm going to get another celebrity somehow, some way, and this is going to turn me into celebrity trainer." So that started in 1993, and fast forward to 1999. It took me all of those years. My next opportunity came. It was a very skinny guy, publicist. Put some size on him. He's a famous publicist right now. His name is Chris Chambers. Put some size on him. I think he's Naomi Campbell's publicist right now, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we're still in touch on our Instagram every now and then. We talk, but I put some size on him, and to the point where his artist noticed, one of the artists he was working for noticed that he was getting jacked. And he goes, "Hey, man, would you like to train this artist? We're trying to get him to come from behind the piano. He plays every instrument. He's super talented. He can sing, but, we just want his body to change so we can get a better image for him." And I had one of my clients to refer to for experience. I said, "Hey, man, how much should I charge him? How much should I charge?" He's like, "Go in there and ask for 30 grand for a month." And I was like, man, there's no way they're gonna give me $30,000 for a month of training, man. It's not possible, dude. He goes, do I tell you how to train? I said, no. He goes, do I do everything you say? I said, yeah, you do. He goes, well, I'm a multimillionaire. I'm telling you to go in there and ask for $30,000. Tell them you're going to give them the money back if you don't get them in shape. They're going to give you the money, but you have to get this guy in shape. So I go into Motown Records. I asked for the $30,000, and they actually gave me the money. They gave me the 30 grand. I said, then I asked my guy what to do now, my mentor. He goes, well, you got to incorporate yourself. You need to quit this job. You need to make sure this guy gets in shape. So I quit the personal training job. I incorporated myself. I started a business name. I think the name of the business was can't remember what my first company, international trainers or something like that, international fitness, something like that. So I wanted to make it for everybody. I thought fitness should be global back then. So it was something with international. I get the corporation. So I get this artist and I sleep in front of his hotel room. I come into the studio. I'm training him. I'm intercepting everything at the same time. And the result of 60 days of that was a D'Angelo Untitled video. So I don't know if you're familiar with D'Angelo. You might be too young to understand, to know the significance of that video. But the D'Angelo video he did with no shirt on. It's one of the most impactful videos of all time. If you go to YouTube and watch the Untitled video, still today, I think it's one of the biggest tours ever. The Voodoo Tour is one of like the best tours ever in Rolling Stone. I think it's number 15 for top greatest tours of all time.
Wow.
So this guy got in such good shape, and at the same time, I was training Mary J. Blige's A&R's barber. I trained the barber for 2 years. The barber got me to the A&R. I trained the A&R for another 2 years, and then I got to Mary J. Blige. So that was like 1999, 2000. And both of these artists took me on tour and got me out of the projects. And that was how I became a celebrity trainer. Because at the time, and it was funny because I was in the projects with no money, and I would see myself on MTV training people, and it was such a surreal experience to see that my plan was actually working. You know what I mean? It took so many years, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't have any money yet, but I had the notoriety, and then I was able to take that and leverage that into actually turning it into a business where I trained, household names and turned it and got access to these celebrities. So, in a nutshell,
What an amazing story. Like there was like so much in there. I always remind everyone who is listening to like just take a couple notes and think after the podcast what you can learn for your journey. And there was a lot like consistency, adding value first, even if it takes risking something. Then listening to people who are experts, like going into the room and asking for 30K, even if you don't think it's the right way, but if you have the people who have the knowledge. So same for everyone who is listening. So look for people who know what they do and like listen to their advice. So if they're stupid, they wouldn't be where they are. So Mark wouldn't be in shape if he didn't knew a little bit about like training and like nutrition. Really, really important. So you trained a lot of interesting people. So, and I grew up like still listening to just hip hop, like almost like. So that was like the thing. And there
right?
are many people, and I'm also really interested. Always, I watched like the NWA movie like 15 times. I'm really like into that.
Right.
So
Hip hop, yeah.
yeah, so, like, and I saw you train like P. Diddy. I saw like DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Then Beyonce was like not directly hip hop, but also like also black music. And a lot of
Busta Rhymes, Q-Tip,
yeah,
LL Cool J, Missy Elliott, Noriega,
that's wild.
so many
You said
artists
it
and
like it's
rappers,
like,
yeah, that
yeah, and I trained him and him, but it's crazy, like, and
as through the years it's a lot, but so many, and I learned something from each and every one of them.
that it's
Yeah.
perfect for my
I was
question.
always wanted to be. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so you have like helped P. Diddy to get in shape
Yeah.
to like I saw the picture. I will put it on the screen for everyone who is watching on YouTube. You posted on Instagram, so I have it. You and um I think Diddy in the newspaper, something like Men's Health magazine.
Yeah, we
Um,
ran the New York City Marathon in '03 and raised $2 million for the public school systems.
wow.
Yeah,
All
and
three. I was like 9 years old back then. So yeah, crazy. So P. Diddy, what was like the thing you learned from him? Because he's like a hustler. There are videos on YouTube, him doing calls, going crazy, screaming at people, and I kind of
yeah,
like that, like just someone who is getting after it. So do you have like something or story related to Diddy where you say like this
yeah.
guy
I
is
mean, when I the marathon was something I came up with, running in Central Park and just not seeing any black people and not seeing the hip hop community running. And I was like, man, this is a shame because running is free. It's not like a gym membership where you have to pay. All you got to do is, go to the park or not even go to the park, get outside and go running. So, beautiful Central Park. The gym I trained at the time was a Reebok Sports Club on a top gym. I was then a top trainer. So now I'm training in the top gyms. And that was right across the street from Central Park. So I take my clients to run all the time. I'd run myself. And I just didn't see, every 2 or 3 miles, I see one or two black people. And I'd be like, man, this is a shame because it's free. You can get in shape for free here. And I got to thinking, like, how can I get the community into running? And then it occurred to me, I said, man, if I can get one of my celebrity clients to run the marathon, that will then trickle down and impact the culture. And so I asked D'Angelo to run the marathon. He was like, no. I asked Mary J. Blige. She was like, no. I asked a couple of other different celebrity clients. They said no. And meanwhile, time is ticking. I asked Diddy 2 months before the New York City Marathon. 2 months. Keep this in mind. 26 miles. He wasn't even running 1 mile. He was out of shape. I had him as a client. He wasn't really paying much attention. He was blowing me off. He was texting, and I knew he was going to fire me not long because he wasn't training. He was not getting in shape. And I said, this guy needs a challenge or something to step up to. And one day he was telling me about how fantastic he was, as he often does. Like, yeah, I'm the man. And I was like, Pup, to be the man, you got to have an athletic endeavor under your belt. You either have to run the bulls in Spain, or you can run the marathon. I had both treatments written out. So I sent him to running the bulls because that's something I always wanted to do, was go to Spain and run the bulls and get that experience, or running the marathon. And to show you what kind of genius he was, he called up MTV, did a deal, said he's running the marathon. And the next day, 2 months before the marathon, he had a full camera crew, did a documentary, and the documentary was Diddy Runs the City. And that was his first deal with MTV that got him all the other deals, making it a band and all the other TV shows. And he stepped up with not being able to run 1 mile, ran 26 miles in 2 months. It usually takes 6 months to a year for someone to train for a marathon. And New York City Marathon is one of the most grueling because of the bridges and the hills and the quality of the streets. And that's why he is where he is, because he has that vision, number one, and then the mental tenacity to execute the vision. So I give him a lot of credit. Like, so many people turned that idea down, and it made him iconic. He had his hands raised on billboards in 42nd Street. It turned him into an icon. It took him to a level. Even now, you hear rappers now rapping about Diddy running the city. I want to run my city like Diddy. It's a common line in many rap songs now you hear. So we really influenced the culture at that time, and now, interestingly enough.
great story. And once again, a lot of stuff in there. And you already said like how much like forward thinking he was, like with the camera team and this and that. And I think that's a really important thing to do to leverage things you do in the best possible way. So starting small with, hey, you meeting with an interesting person, maybe talking to them before to shoot some content for social media, or like just like thinking, okay, how
Yeah,
can I get the most out of that experience and maybe inspire other people as well. So Yeah, I have DDs on my bucket list for a podcast. So, but I need to work up there, so there's a long way
Yeah.
to go. And one person I also wanted to ask you about, because Ryan, my business partner from the US, told me about that you trained and coached Beyonce, and she's like also like a big person, like someone who inspire maybe more like on the woman side.
Yeah.
So how was like working with her, and do you have like
Oh
something?
man, I trained her when she was super young. I think it was for a movie. She didn't feel comfortable about a role, so they stopped the set, called the trainer in. So, oftentimes I have like 30 days to get someone in shape, 60 days. And they called me in, they stopped this whole movie. I think it was The Fighting Temptations, very early in her career. I think maybe the first movie she's ever done. And really early on, I saw she had it. The way she was training, the way she was adhering to the diet. I'd run with her and then be like, okay, you need to be able to sing and dance, start singing. And she wouldn't even look twice, start singing as she's running, like very wanted to win. Like a lot of artists, they're there, they know they're going to get there. So they're not really maximizing, but it was very apparent to me very early on that she was willing to do what it took to win. So I'm not surprised now that she's at the level that she's at, because that was even as a young girl, she would do anything I said. It was never no, it was never a look twice. It was never that weight's too heavy. It was never it's too hot outside to run. She was just like, okay, okay, all right. Is that what's going to take? Is that going to work? Okay. And always the sweetest person. Like, she was like, she'd be like, Mark, are you gonna come to church with me? So, that's what I did with her. We went to church. I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna be sexy. She's like, no. So very sweet at the same time, but very driven and dedicated. So those are my. Again, she was very young in her career. But those are my memories of her, and she really, I could see where she was going way ahead of time. I think everybody saw it who was around her.
Hmm,
You know, she was very focused from a very very young age.
interesting. Yeah, like focus is an important one.
And discipline, and again, to be able to execute. Artists are fun to train because they're artists, they have the visual skills. So if you're talking to an artist, you tell them, like I told her, I said, hey, you're going to be on stage, people are going to be viewing you from the bottom up. They're going to be looking up at you for the most of the time. So we need to accentuate your shoulders so your waist looks smaller, and bring out your lats. So it makes a symmetry in your hips, because your hips are not going anywhere. They're able to visualize what you're saying to them. But it takes a special person then to be able to execute the plan to to reach that goal. So they're interesting to train because they have the visual skills, where a lot of times you're training general population, they can't really see it until it's happening. So that'd probably be the biggest difference, because people often ask me that question as well. What's the difference between training an artist and general population? It'll be the visualization skills. Yourself getting richer, you can see it happening, and you can really put it in your mind. And you're only, you're 50% there, 60% there. All you got to do now is execute. But a lot of people are trying to execute, but they can't see it. It's much harder. They don't believe it.
That that's also an interesting one, like just to be able to see it before it's happening. There's also something
Because the
that's
body follows the mind.
yes, 100%. I've like one more person I want to ask you about, just because he's especially now really big. So it's DJ Khaled, and he's an
Yeah,
interesting one. So I'm listening to his music. I watched an interview at a podcast just about like who he is, his background, his mindset, and he seems like a really interesting guy. So how was like training him, and like did you train him for like some like a movie or just like
I
something?
remember how it happened. I think I was training Rick Ross, and then Ross referred me to Khaled, or maybe Khaled referred me to Ross. It was some type of connection like that. But I trained Khaled off and on for maybe 2 or 3 months. And the interesting thing with Khaled, I will tell you, is that he's the only artist that picked me up from the airport himself. He got me. He picked me, and it's very that was very distinctive to me. I never forgot. Got to the airport. Khaled picked me up from the airport himself. In a Wraith, if I'm
Nice.
not mistaken. And he's like, "This is a Wraith." You know how he talks, right?
Yeah.
This is a Wraith, and I was like, "Oh shit! I'd never been in it one." And this is the stars up here. It has the lights and everything.
Yeah.
And then he went on to tell me, you can do anything you want. You can make it whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it. So he's very real with that. What he's saying, it's not fake. It's not a TV act. He's very real with that motivational wise. Khaled does not diet at the time when I was training him, but no one actually worked harder in the gym than Khaled when he's training. He goes all the way in. Does not diet. Not the best dieter, but as far as pushing himself, he would really push himself till he couldn't move anymore. So they all have that, all the successful artists and clients who are super successful upper echelon, they all have that factor that they're able to push themselves beyond the normal person and go a little bit further, do a little bit more. And again, he had the visualization skills. He really saw himself as a mogul and would affirm it to himself, and affirm it, even if he had to affirm it by telling you can do anything you want to do. He always kept that positive talk and positive energy around him. And everybody on his team was like that. He didn't really allow people to be negative or down around him. So that was also something that I picked up from Khaled that was very interesting.
The peer group, like the people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really really important one. So to have the right people around you. Yeah, DJ Khaled is a really like interesting guy, but I love that you just like said like he like the interviews
Yeah, that's
are.
real. That's not an act. That's not a act. That's not an act. That's real.
Yeah. And when you said like that's a rave, I was like I 100% could see like the whole thing, and that's amazing. So if someone is just real, I love that.
Yeah. And he was like, you can get this, you can get this car. This is nothing, man. Then he took me to his restaurant. We ate, just, he's driving around
Yeah.
Miami. Me and him didn't know him right off the plane.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Never
that.
had someone at that level be so genuine and accessible.
Mm. I think yeah, like it's interesting. You have the experience with so many different people and how they act, and I think you can learn something from everyone, good or bad, maybe in a
Yeah.
way. So there are like a lot of people I could ask you about, but I want to go get like a little bit more like around that question, then really a couple ones about like fitness and health and performance because you're 53.
Right.
So I know 50 people who are 53. They're normally not looking like you, most of them. So, but before that, just overall, from like just thinking back, that's a hard question maybe. What was like the most, it could be someone, a celebrity or someone we don't know, the most interesting person to train and coach? Who was like the person you think about like, okay, this he or she's like different.
I trained someone. Oh, there's so many people who are super interesting. I trained this one lady. She was like a profiler, so you could put her in a. She worked for the government, so I can't really mention her name or anything, but you could put her in a arena and she could tell you who the sniper was just based on how the person moved or how they looked. Interesting. I trained one of the first women who had combat experience in the military. So that was pretty interesting. Again, I can't really get into the names. I trained some people I can't talk about as well. I've trained maybe the third or second highest IQ in the world. So when I was training the person, they could actually intuit what I was saying. They were so smart and knew what I was going to do before I actually said it. So
Wow.
intelligent. And their job was just to sit into companies, just to go to the company and look around and tell them how to optimize the company. They didn't really have a job description and just walked around and got millions of dollars just to look around and make suggestions. Uh, A lot of the clients are not celebrities, but celebrities in their own rights, in their own field or genre. So it's been quite a privilege to be exposed to so many people on such a level. So I always feel quite honored and quite humbled because I always like no trainer has as many celebrity transformations as clients as me. So at times I get like, yeah, I'm the man, But when you meet these people who are really doing super high level shit, it's very humbling at the same time. You know.
I think that's good. This is one of the reasons why I want you to be more in Dubai and Marbella, because everyone is successful, everyone is pushing, everyone in Marbella especially, everyone is in shape. Like it's like not like 90% of people are looking like in shape, making money, like everything. And I think that's good to just get not be the like the most successful in your group is an important one. So in with your like the people you train like coach and train, it's almost impossible to go to the level some people are. So that's really cool. So for like just performing in life to like there's so many ways to get into shape, like to eat, to train and everything. And I started self-employed as a personal trainer when I was 18, turned really quick into more the entrepreneur road, but I'm still working out 2 times a
Oh yeah,
day.
I see you. I see you.
Yeah. Boxing and gym. So I'm smaller now, but I'm focused on but 2 times a day. So and I'm really like into nutrition. I'm always like, how can I perform better? How can I look like you when I'm 53? So like I'm thinking about stuff like that. And what would you say are like let's say the 5 key points, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening, to perform better in life? What are your 5 things you would say you need to follow them? Maybe besides just like, yeah, just
Just like
working
eating
out.
vegetables besides the regular stuff,
Yeah,
right?
so some stuff you just say,
Yeah.
oh, that's
So you
interesting.
know that. We used to call it before it became wellness, right? Like now it's wellness. We called it the fitness lifestyle, right? Back in the day, there was no wellness. No one knew what wellness was. No one knew what mental wellness was, or environmental wellness, or social wellness, or economic wellness or mental wellness. We just call it the fitness lifestyle. So, everybody was trying to live much like Arnold. That's where that era that came from. I'm very influenced by those old school bodybuilders living the fitness lifestyle, getting up, getting into natural sunlight, and just living it. So the biggest thing I can say to people, I got exposed very early on to meditation. I got exposed very early on to yoga, and those are probably the two things that allow me to look like I look at 53. The meditation, because I think through meditation you're able to control a lot of your bodily functions. You're able to put that into your mind to use the breath and to get energy from the environment, as opposed to using energy always from food for a food source or sugar or caffeine. So I think that I've taken in less toxins than the average person my age, which will result in decaying less and being fresher. So if I would say something to someone who is young, the biggest thing is to watch your toxin intake, because now the society is so much more toxic than it was even when I was growing up. From the drinking water to the vegetables to the food dye they put in to the clothes. I was looking at an article, and it had Lululemon, and a lot of tights and the clothing manufacturers now have BPA in the tights. So when you put BPA not even in plastic anymore, it's in the clothing. So you're absorbing it directly through your skin. And even worse, it's tights. It's going right to your testicles. Or if you're a woman, it's going right to your uterus. So, just to be aware of the toxins and wearing synthetic clothing and the stuff that you do, I think that goes a long way. And people discount that. They're always looking for a pill to do this and do that. But the less that you intake toxin wise, the less your body has to work, the fresher your organs stay, the longer you can live. So I think that's a big point that gets discounted when you talk about health and wellness, is to try to be very conscious of pick your poisons. Like hanging with so many rappers, inevitably I had to take a puff every now and then, smoking weed. But if I said to myself, I'm going to smoke, I said to myself very early on, I'm not drinking anything. I didn't drink and smoke. So I always picked my poison, in other words, because everybody has something that they do. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I did everything right. So if I smoked marijuana, I was only going to do that. I was not going to do any other drug. I wasn't going to do any coke. I wasn't going to take any pills. I wasn't going to take any alcohol, because your system has to work on detoxifying that. You overload your system. A lot of times you have people drinking and smoking and taking Cialis and taking pills to stay up longer and taking pills to focus them in more. Your body has to process everything you put in. Your liver has to process all of that to detoxify you. So even if it's something that's making you healthy, your body still has to process it. So that's something I would tell young people to keep in mind. Even I have a son, and he's transgender. So he started off as a girl, and he went through a transition. And he became a boy now. And even me telling him, I'm like, listen, you're taking the antidepressants to stabilize yourself. So hopefully you can use meditation and whatnot to get off of that. But if you're 16, 17, and you're starting to take antidepressant medication at that age, by the time you're 30, 45, your liver's shot. So you have to be very aware of the toxins that you're intaking. I hope you're not drinking or doing that, or you're trying to use a holistic way to balance yourself. Always look for an alternative that's going to do less impact to your body. So I was always very aware. Also, too, because as a celebrity trainer, I'm around all kinds of drugs all day long. Believe that. So I'm always aware of these people intaking so many toxins. Sometimes because I got to have the talk, I do mandatory blood work with all of my clients. I started that since 1995. That's something that's enabled me to get transformation with clients, because I was able to look into the blood and see where they're at. And then we got to have the talk. Okay, what kind of drugs you on? And it'll be an unimaginable amount of shit. Double prescriptions from doctors, medical stuff, then recreational stuff on top of that. So a lot of times my job is just to tell them the same thing I'm telling you. Dude, you ain't gonna last long. Your liver has to process all of this shit. You're not feeling anything right now, but you are gonna have effects because your body has to keep detoxifying yourself. So that's where fasting comes in, giving your organs a chance to rest, intermittent fasting, getting the full digestion out of all of your foods. That's all what I'm talking about right now, is picking your poisons. Now, if you want to go on vacation, I think it's human. Take a vacation 60 days out the year and go crazy and do what you want. But that other 10 months out the year, you better be doing the right thing. It's just like, you got to do more positive than negative, or it will catch up to you inevitably. So that's the biggest thing. Pick your spots, man. So I always pick my spots in life.
Great
When I got
advice.
on the party train, I didn't stay on the party train. I was like, okay. Gotta get off the party train right now. It's getting a little too crazy. So pick your spots.
Yes. Great advice. So while I was talking, I was like thinking about like just myself. So, and how I do things, because people ask me also, like, because yeah, I'm always like, I have energy. I'm like doing a lot of things. So, and even people my age are asking me about that. How can you like just, I don't know, like, what are you doing? So, and what you said, like, I do intermittent fasting. I'm I'm not drinking at all, really, or weed or anything. So for me, it's like coffee and cigars, maybe.
Right.
So, but beside that, I felt like just the natural high of working out, achieving things, being in a nice environment, seeing things, creating something is way better than like a lot of other things.
Well, you know
Um,
what I call that? There's a difference, because a lot of people are alive, right? But they're passengers in life. Life is just they're passengers. So if you're a passenger, you need other stimulation. But now if you're a participant in life, and you're actually participating and making moves and making changes, you're getting high off the activities that you're doing. So you don't need that outside stimulus so much. So that also has to do with the lifestyle that you're living. I call it like empowerment through exercise. So I live a very empowered life, and I never I never rested on my laurels. I never said, "Hey, I trained Beyonce. I don't have to." I always try to. What's the next move? What can I do next? How can I get that same feeling? What can I do now? You know what I mean? forget about the past, forget about your past victories, because you can never, if you start to look to win the same way each time, then you become a loser. So you have to learn how to win, even fighting. If you use a jab every time, the person knows a jab is coming. Just like in business, you have to use unconventional means. You can't, and getting the same information and reading the same books is what you individually bring to it is what makes it special. So I think that gets lost in the message as well. Be a participant, let your individual personality and assets shine, and get high off of the victories, as opposed to using outside sources.
For before I coming to the last questions, I just remembered one thing. You talked about your story, and you said like it took you a while to be like this person trainer who is making money. And we have like a lot of young guys listening to that. And because of social media, there's so much like just competition, and everyone thinks you have to be worth 100 million when you're 25, and if not, you're like worth
Right,
nothing.
you're
Like,
failure, right?
yeah, so yeah, so that's the thing, and I'm like into that space, so I see young guys making it's mind blowing. So, but the thing is that everything takes time. You see like the unicorns, but you don't see the people, or you don't see like you putting in the work until you started to train PDD. They saw you, he's the trainer, he trains this person, but they didn't saw you in the project eating your things, like the mind, just the mindset you need to have to go through that. So back to that before I come to the last questions. What was the reason why you didn't quit, or what you advice would you give the younger guys if they're like really into comparing with other people who are faster, maybe faster, quote unquote?
Everybody has a different situation or different skills. Like, there's some people I've been training all my life who I'm never going to be faster. There's trainers on Instagram, I'm never going to be built like them no matter what I do, because most of the trainers are genetically gifted. They've never transformed themselves from being 45-inch waist or man boobs into getting in shape. But I always look at that as a benefit, because now, number one, I know how to relate to someone who's overweight. I know what buttons to push to motivate them and to get into better shape. So it's all how you look at it and your perspective. I'll tell you a funny story. Because you're talking about the youth and how much pressure they're under now. And as a parent, I realized that. But just 2 weeks ago, I partnered with Global hair restoration company, because I thought this would be a great way to access men who have a disposable income who are already spending it on their personal wellness. So I start training with this guy, again, thinking entrepreneurial and the path of least resistance, because I know no trainers are targeting that market, right? So I partner with the CEO of Global Hair. We start training. He's like, Mark, I want to redo your hairline. So like maybe I think I'm on day 14. He redid this whole thing. It was way back. So he took it way down. But I commented to him, I said, man, so you must be helping a lot of old guys like me. And he goes, Mark, you won't believe it, man. The majority of my clients are 16, 17, 18, and the stress of Instagram is causing their hair to fall out.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a awakening. I was like, damn, that's so fucked up, man. That these kids are so young and they have this pressure on them to the point where the hair is actually falling out. And I was like, no, you got to be kidding, man. He's like, Mark, I swear to God, we get more young kids in here than older kids. So just I put that out for you guys to listen and really manage your stress and stop comparing yourselves to other people. You can only be the best you can be. If you know that you're doing your best, then you don't have to worry about anybody else. It's going to happen for you. If you're doing everything that you can, you have to be patient. Sometimes it takes time. It took me 8 years of living in the projects, eating the same foods every day for 8 years to maximize my opportunity when it came. But the most of the time, when the opportunity comes, because it does come for everybody, some people are ready and some people aren't. Make sure you're ready when the opportunity comes. When my opportunity came, I was already a master at my craft. I had over 10,000 hours of experience, which is what it takes to become a master of something. It's 10,000 hours. If you guys familiar with the 10,000 hour rule, if you're not, Google it. It takes a certain amount of time to master a craft. So you can use these funnels and Instagram tricks and stuff marketing to draw the people, but you actually have to be able to deliver the goods when you get to the upper echelon. Like people pay me because of the track record that I've been able to get somebody to single digit body fat within 60 days from being overweight. You have to actually have the skill. So now it's such a marketing, everything's focused on marketing, branding. I got to have a Benz in back of me. I got to have a new outfit on every time, but they forget about acquiring the actual skill. So that's the most important thing. If you want to be successful and you want to win, once you get the skill, you can always pay somebody to do the marketing for you, but you can't do it the other way around.
That's great advice right there. So, because I'm like my star sign is I'm a lion, so I'm a leader, but I compare to other people a lot. So for me, like social media really needed to go like disciplined with that to not look too much. So I'm also like you, I'm not like genetically gifted, so I had to work my way through like just getting in shape. So I was a
Right.
little bit chubby as well. So I always looked at like this fitness model guys, and I was like, that's impossible. Like like for me. So, but I started to think about like I want to be the best version of myself, and at that point, that changed. And the same thing is what I do in business now, and that's also advice for the young people. Like mute all the Instagram stories of everyone who is not inspiring you or unfollow them. Don't spend too much time on there. Create your own reality. If you want to
Yeah.
watch a lot of content, just
And get away from the friends. Get away from the negative friends. Like, Rick Ross came out with a post the other day. If you have friends and they're not liking every post you put out, they're not your friends. Don't fuck with them.
yeah.
Don't even waste the time because they're not supporting you. That means they're secretly competing with you. It's the friends oftentimes that are the downfall of so many people who have aspirations because they don't want you to get ahead. Subconsciously, it may not even be a conscious thing. They're giving you bad advice. They're putting doubt in your mind. So make sure your friends are really your friends. And I think that's a lot of things that gets discounted. If you look at my Instagram page, it's not good. If you look at my social media, it's shitty. However, I have more celebrity transformations than any other trainer on earth before or after because I am good at what I do. So now that I have enough money to go pay a team to make it good. But a lot of people told me through my journey, Mark, you need to go take an editing class, go learn how to use Canva, go take a tutorial. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to stop my hours in the day to go try to get mastery on something that's not my direct source of income when I can outsource that. That's not being a smart entrepreneur. If you're really focused on, to me, but everybody has a different path. If you're really focused on being the best trainer, your time is going to be spent training with people better than you, which is what I do. The guy I run with is faster than me. All the guys I lift with are stronger than me. Most of them are younger than me. The guys I spar with and fight with, they're in their 20s and 30s. So I get better because I'm sharpening my sword with people who are better than me. I'm not going to take the time out from doing that. And all the people I hang out with are smarter than me for the majority. They're real intellectuals. I'm not going to take time out to that to go learn how to do social media because I feel like it's taking away from me, my personal excellence. So you have to look at things. A lot of times it's a lot of programming. If you're trying to focus on getting a certain level of expertise or proficiency or something, stay focused on that and something's going to happen for you as opposed to spreading yourself out, trying to be an editor, trying to be a cameraman, trying to do this, trying to do that, and getting into this social media. Oh, my page doesn't look as good. I don't have the right music. I don't have the right app. I don't have the right this. When you can outsource all of that these days for cheap.
Yes.
You don't need to be a social media expert now. You need to be an expert at what you want to be.
Amazing advice. So, to finish this like great interview, I could ask you thousands of questions, but I will go to the end now. So, and there's like the fire questions round. So, first is like I'm gonna ask you or tell you like a couple of words, and you give me in 1 to 2 sentences your first thought about that person
Okay.
or that word. Okay, let's get into it. So, vegan.
Blood work. Get your blood work done.
Yeah,
See what your body requires.
yeah. Okay, nice. Next one is CrossFit.
Good marketing.
Donald Trump.
Uh, 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 pass. I'll
uh,
pass on Donald.
as
Donald Trump, I got one indicted.
United. Nice, interesting. The last one. So what like the last word, Andrew Tate, or the last person?
Empowered.
Empowered. Interesting. So yeah, I have a couple more words, but I think we're good with that. So
Okay.
because I want to ask you the final question, and you kind of already did it, but maybe you have something. Just imagine you can do a time travel back to the 18-year-old Mark at the military, and you have like 20 seconds to give him advice about, doesn't matter what it is. So what would be your advice, or what would you tell him if you had the opportunity?
I would tell him to address his mental health.
Amazing. Hey, yeah, that's great advice.
Honest
Like,
answer, yeah, yeah. I would tell the 18-year-old to address his mental health. Because I was double traumatized coming from the hood.
mm,
I seen people get shot and killed before I even joined the military, and then go into the military after that. So I would say address
perfect.
my mental health to the 18-year-old.
Hey Mark, it was an amazing interview. Like a lot of cool stories. I'm really pumped, like listening to like someone who worked with Didi, like or DJ Khaled, some people I'm listening and like following, especially Didi's entrepreneurial journey, like the last couple of years. So it's really amazing. I really appreciate the time. Thank you a lot. I can't wait to see you maybe in the Netherlands or somewhere to get a workout in or have
We
another
got to do it in
conversation,
Dubai. In Dubai,
or in Dubai.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We'll meet
We
up.
talked about that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone who was listening. Share it, post it, give us feedback, Instagram DMs, comments, whatever. And we see us next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Central Europe time. Impact Millions podcast. See you. Bye bye. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Be well, guys.